We're missing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just a slight delay a little bit because of the traffic out that they're doing some by the railroad tracks there. So we're missing one high school, I believe, and our pledge folks tonight. So if we can just bear for about 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get started. I think we got one of our high schools here. Okay. I want to announce that the board did meet in closed session and no action was taken tonight. Today's meeting was video recorded and will be available on the district's YouTube channel. The blue cards are available at the table outside to my right here. If you wish to address the board, complete the card and hand it to a staff member to my right. Make sure you indicate which matter you want to address on the agenda or not on the agenda. And matters on the agenda, we'll assume you'll speak when time comes to address that item. We have pledge allegiance for the night, if they come forward, James Rudder Middle School, Colonel Veronica Vieroas, and Principal Miss Rambo, and Tony Perez, board member, will assist. If you can come forward, please.
And children.
And the family.
Family.
Don't be bashful. Okay, Mr. Perez.
Okay, excuse me here. I have allergies from all of this pollen in the skies, but bear with me. James Rudder Middle School is proud to recognize Miss Veronica Fierros as our honoree. Miss Fierros has 4 children, the third of which is a current 8th grader at James Rudder. Guadalupe is a student at Sac State. Fernando is a 12th grader at Florin High School. Carla is an 8th grader at Rudder. And Perla is a kindergartner at Anna Kirchgater. Stand up. I know you're standing up. Okay. She has helped in preschool with students who need extra comforting, when they are sad or who struggle with the language barriers. Ms. Fierros enjoys exercising and taking Zumba classes when her kids are in school. She faithfully attends all school events from back to school night to parents at lunch and parent university, both at James Rudder and at Florin High School. She was a part of the PIQUE program, helping to promote a college-going cultural program. She has participated in adult education classes through Elk Grove Unified School District, learning English at the Gerber office. She has also helped at the annex with watching children during school district events. Very good. Our James Rudder partnership with Ms. Fierros increased this year as she took a seat on the school site council. Her connection to our region and her understanding of our students' needs makes her an asset to our school and our families. We appreciate the knowledge she brings to the table and value her influence over other parents in the community. We look forward to continued partnership as we await her youngest daughter's arrival at James Rudder, and an opportunity to reconnect with our faithful parent volunteer, Veronica Fierros. Okay, Perla.
Okay, hold on.
You be there soon.
Stand, please, and remove your caps.
Okay. And can you be in? Over here. Okay, right there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. All right, brother. Stay right there.
Thank you once again. Let's get a nice round of applause again. Okay, we have our high school representatives. That's Elk Grove High School. Come forward.
Good evening, Board President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. My name is Bella Harder.
And I'm Alex Taniguchi.
And we are pleased to update you on all the wonderful events that have taken place at Elk Grove the past few months.
It's that time of the year. We're on the home stretch. Everyone is getting excited for spring break and summer, but that's not stopping our stellar students from excelling in their schoolwork. On March 11th, we held our academic awards ceremony where we congratulated hundreds of students on earning a 3.75 GPA or higher. The students were not only recognized for their hard work, but they were given certificates and patches depending on how high their GPA was. Last week, we held our last Renaissance signups of the school year. Here, we acknowledged everyone's stellar grades from the third term. Students who received a GPA of 3.0 and above or a 0.5 GPA increase from the previous semester were granted numerous types of rewards.
Making all students who attend Elk Grove feel unified and welcome is our school's top priority. On March 20th, we held our yearly multicultural assembly. Here, students were able to get a little glimpse of all the different cultures represented at our school through various dance performances and singing performances in their native languages. Some of the amazing performances included a traditional Filipino dance, tinikling, and brilliant Bollywood and German dance pieces. On May 2nd, our annual Art in Action chalk drawing show will be held. Here, our students will have a chance to show off their creative sides by creating a large chalk drawing in our main quad.
The past few months at Elk Grove have been quite groovy. In February, we successfully held our last school-wide dance of the school year, Winter Homecoming. There was not only blasting music and students packed in our gym, but also a food truck that was distributing delicious desserts. You could say it was a pretty eventful evening. March was also a very busy month for Elk Grove because both junior prom and senior ball took place. Our junior and senior classes had a chance to get dressed up and have a fun-filled night with music, dancing, and who can forget that chocolate fountain? It's safe to say that everyone left their hearts out on the dance floor. Future Farmers of America, or FFA, held their annual donkey basketball game on February 22nd. Here, students and teachers competed to see who the true masters of this entertainment game was. Unfortunately, the teachers once again dominated and ended up winning. We'll get them next year. Things are starting to get serious for our FFA members because County Fair is just around the corner. In efforts to prepare for fair, last Friday and Saturday, we held pre-fair at our school farm. Here, students were able to display all the hard work they have put into their animals the past few months by showing them off to judges, teachers, and fellow FFA members. Our spring musical, Chicago, is here. Our drama department has been at hard work preparing for this musical, and they're so excited to perform. Their next performance is this Thursday through Saturday, April 4th through 6th. Our mock trial team, consisting of 22 people, won the Sacramento County competition, beating Jesuit in the final round. Our team came home with 7 individual awards from the competition, including Best Attorney and Witness awards. Due to their hard work and determination, they placed 5th in the state competition out of 36 teams. Way to go, mock trial. We also want to congratulate our very own Elk Grove High TDA photographers, Lily Herr, Joey Reynaga, Vivian Kong, Riley Bloodworth, and Kaylee Kwong. They are the winners of the District Superintendent's Art Contest in the digital, photo, and black and white categories.
Spring sports have finally arrived, so get your sunscreen and ball caps ready. Our softball and baseball teams have been working very hard this season, and it's clearly showing throughout their games. We are very excited to see how the rest of the season goes. The men's volleyball team has absolutely been dominating this season. They are currently 7-0 in league, and we're looking forward to another possible victory tonight against our rival school, Pleasant Grove. We would like to congratulate one of the team members, Ian Smith, for being chosen as Max Prep's National Player of the Week, as well as being placed on the All-American watch list. Keep up the good work. Our other sports teams, including men's golf, tennis, swim, and track and field, have been hard at work practicing and competing as well. Board President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos, thank you so much for your time and consideration this evening. We invite you to our very own spring musical, Chicago, this Thursday through Saturday. We look forward to our next report with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Very fine report. Okay, we'll bring on Sheldon High School. appreciate you can join us.
Good evening, Board President Chet Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. My name is Simran Thandi.
And my name is Betty Tarafa, and we're from Sheldon High School.
Since the last time we saw you guys in January, a lot has happened at Sheldon High School. In February, we had over 1,000 students enjoy our quarterly Renaissance barbecue, where those who achieved a 3.5 or better, or a 0.5 increase in their GPA, got to enjoy hot dogs and veggie burgers. Our next Renaissance barbecue is this Friday.
Also, on February, over 578 Sheldon High School students received achieving a 3.75 GPA or better for the first 2 terms of our school year had received, we had the most numbers of freshmen, who received awards, and we hope that the number of class of 2022 remains stable, if not better. Our Sheldon Engineering Design Pathway competition for the first time, competition for the first time in VEX Robotics competition. We're looking forward to improving and to continuing with the competition. Sheldon also placed first and second place on our annual Performing Engineering in California Government Bridge Building Contest.
Our Biotech Academy was named the 2019 Distinguished California Partnership Academy by the California Department of Education. Sheldon is one of the 8 schools being recognized for such an honor. Sheldon's Science Olympiad team placed second at regionals and are earning a trip to NorCal State competitions, which will be held April 6th. Sheldon High School is one of the 2 Elk Grove Unified School District schools to have artwork shown at the Crocker Art Museum during the Youth Art Month this year. We had 3 performing and arts work teachers present 10 pieces of artwork done by our Sheldon students.
In March, we had a Team Husky social where freshmen were able to enjoy pancake breakfast with our junior and senior class mentors. We had over 800 freshmen, juniors, and seniors in total who had a wonderful morning.
For our spring season, Sheldon's Theater Work has put together the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, which will be showcased at our Performing Arts Center on April 12th, 13th, and 25th, and 26th at 7 p.m. and April 27th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. So come join us in watching the classic fairy tale. Seniors are preparing for senior project boards, where each senior takes a minimum of 15 hours to put together a project. Presentations will be on May 21st from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. If anyone is interested in judging, please contact Ms. Maz. For our sports fan, we had our Sheldon basketball team participate in the NorCal playoffs and place second in the state. And in March Madness, we had our March Madness basketball tournaments among Sheldon student teams. Tournaments were held week-long among teams and students who came out to support their friends and have a good time.
Upcoming, we have our annual popular Black Light Rally. This Friday, we have our Sheldon High School clubs put together dances for our Sheldon High School students. Along with the same day, we have our last school dance, the Black Light Dance. Whenever there's a rally, there's also Spirit Weeks. So today's Spirit Week would be Future Career, and tomorrow's our classic Wacky Wednesday for the astronaut twist.
We would like to take a moment and thank you all for taking the time to listen to the events taking place on the Sheldon campus. With this being said, with this being our last presentation from Sheldon, and as part of the 2019 graduating class, I hope to end strong and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good report. I'd like to recognize the principals at those schools, Dr. Eugene Christmas from Elk Grove High School, and Paula Duncan from Sheldon High School, if Paula's here. Thank you. And students, you may be excused now. Go ahead and do your homework. Okay, athletic recognition, I'd like to call on Rod Edmondson. Come forward. And we'll be assisted by Miss Virginia.
President Madison, members of the school board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. Tonight I am honored to introduce you to 2 very special athletes and a very special team. First, the 2 special athletes are wrestlers from the Franklin High School wrestling team. And at this time I would like to introduce their head wrestling coach at Franklin High School, Neil Westmoreland, who will introduce his wrestlers.
Good evening. It's my honor to introduce two of my wrestlers that have been with me for the last 4 years. Andrew Calvert, this year he was 36-11, but only 4 losses came at the 106-pound weight class. He was the league champion, Division I champion, and Masters champion, state qualifier, and he ended up finishing top 20 in the state. He is a senior. He's the 3-time league champion, 2-time Division I champion, and 1-time runner-up, 4-time Masters qualifier, and 2-time placer, including this year's champion. He's ending this year his career with over 120 wins. This young man is like a little piece of dynamite. He hasn't really grown that much since he's been a freshman. He's only 106 to 110 pounds. But like dynamite, he's got some big power. He's been a scholar athlete every year that he's been with Franklin. He's probably one of the most polite and great sportsmen that I've been able to work with. He loves his Japanese heritage, and he'll give you a Japanese bow after every match, win or loss. He's a unique individual that one of the greatest things about Andrew that I love is he really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to him what the fashion is, what the cool in thing to do. He's going to be Andrew. And he's a great young man. Andrew Calvert. The other wrestler I have is Malik Lewis. This year was stellar for him. He went 46-6. He placed in every tournament that he entered this year, as well as the prestigious Doc Buchanan tournament, which is one of the California's best in-season tournaments and one of on the national level as well. Throughout the course of this year, he was able to beat 8 out of the top 20 wrestlers ranked in the state. He was also a league champion, Division I champion, and Masters champion this year. He finished 7th place in the state this year, losing only to the 2nd and 3rd placing wrestlers. He is also a senior. He's a 3-time league champion, 2-time Division I champion, and runner-up 1 time, 3-time Masters qualifier, and 2-time placer, including this year's champion. He's a 2-time state qualifier, including the 7th place finish this year, which has been the best finish that we've had for probably the last 7 years. This young man is a quiet giant. He is not a big talker. It's one of the things I love about him. He's not a smack talker, but he goes and backs it up on the mat. He's a great sportsman as well. I've never heard him say a word to a referee in disgust or in opposition to a referee, win or lose. Another unique thing about this young man is, even though the defeats are very rare, he looks at defeat with an eye of improvement so that he can get better. And that showed this year with his wrestling and his record. This is undeniably our team leader, has been. He leads by example. He's a very special young man. And both of these young men have a lot of places to go. That's Malik Lewis.
Principal Chantel Albiani from Franklin could not make it tonight due to her hosting the Franklin Parent Appreciation Dinner, but in her place is Vice Principal Carlos Castillo. Next, the special team is the Sheldon High School boys basketball team. They finished the year as the CIF Sac Joaquin Boys Division I champions, NorCal Open Division Boys champions, and the CIF Open Division Boys state runner-up. This group of young men finished the season with a 28-7 on-court record, and this is Sheldon's 6th Sac Joaquin section title and the 5th for Coach Rawlings, and also Coach Rawlings' 3rd NorCal championship. It is also the 2nd year in a row that they have played in the state championship game. With that, it is my honor to introduce to you the head coach, Joey Rawlings, who this year in his 10th season at Sheldon won his 247th game at Sheldon High School. Coach Rawlings will now announce his coaches and his athletes. Coach Joey Rawlings.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. So first assistant coach is Michael Bradley. Another assistant is Rich Viano-Nitschke. Now for players, Marquise Hargrove. Xavier Brown. Kaido Williams. Xavier Brown. Darren Tobias. Jaden Lilly. Justin Nguyen. He's also co-MVP of SAC B. Dontrell Hewlett. Pierce Davis. Joshua Morgan. Yaru Harvey. And Brandon Fisher. This is your Sheldon boys basketball team.
Principal for Sheldon High School, Paula Duncan.
Parents, feel free to come up to the front of the room.
You get them?
Duskies on three. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Another round for a fantastic season. Okay, I want to call on Mr. Pierce for recommendation for a name for a student service building at Edward Harris Middle School.
Thank you, President Madison. Members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman and Ms. Avalos, it is my sincere privilege and honor to make this presentation before you tonight, and I will have some guests who will aid in the presentation as we make a formal request of the school board tonight. As we know, Edward Harris Middle School opened in 2004. From that time until 2018, there was one constant in terms of governance on the campus, and that was the amazing educational leadership of Jennifer Nguyen. She was on the planning committee that opened the school in 2004, establishing the school's common beliefs, core values, and expectations for student achievement. From that time forward, Ms. Nguyen served the community wholeheartedly and loved the entire staff and her students with every fiber of her being. During her service to Edward Harris Middle School, Ms. Nguyen held the position as counselor, lead counselor, and vice principal, serving in each capacity with dignity and class. Ms. Nguyen committed countless hours to serving the entire school community, moving the school from its infancy to an established educational institution. Ms. Nguyen was truly a special and amazing individual who dedicated her life to serving students, family, and staff in the Elk Grove Unified School District. She was a leader, a mentor, and a friend that touched the lives of countless people. She fought and advocated for equity of all of her students and their families. Her wonderfully composed demeanor would calm the most upset individual while she sets high academic standards and behavioral standards for the students and created a plan that made sure they would meet her expectations. Her passion, intelligence, sense of humor, and work ethic were all unmatched. Ms. Nguyen was not only a school leader, but a loving wife and mother. Her face would light up with pride each time she spoke of her children and her husband. If she wasn't diligently working at the campus, she was taking care of her 3 beautiful children or finding time to serve at the family restaurant, the East West Cafe. Ms. Nguyen's dedication to our district, her family, and our community were second to none. Tragically, the beloved vice principal passed away after a year-long bout with cancer in July of 2018. The site leadership committee decided to honor her life by requesting that the student service building be dedicated in her honor and named after her. Consistent with your board policy, the community and staff members from Edward Harris, led by their principal, Charles Amy, made a request to the superintendent to have the student services building named after Ms. Nguyen. Superintendent Hoffman shared that information with me. Again, consistent with your board policy, we in turn shared that information with your community advisor on school naming, Ms. Elizabeth Pinkerton, and she also wholeheartedly accepts this request and asked that we bring this forward to the school board tonight. Now, I didn't have the honor and privilege of working directly with Ms. Nguyen, but obviously the school principal did, Mr. Amy, and I know he has a few words for you, and I'd like to introduce a few people in Ms. Nguyen's honor.
I'd
like to say thank you to Mr. Pierce for his kind words, and thank you to the board for looking into this item. There's no way to replace Miss Wynn, as she was my partner and just a phenomenal coworker. She meant so much to our community, and we could think of no better way to honor her and her family than by naming a building after her on our campus. So her legacy will continue to live on forever. This is a complete surprise to her family who is here tonight, and I'm going to invite them up, as well as Carlos Castillo, who worked in partnership with her for over a decade, and he just has a few things to say.
Hi, I'm the oldest in my family, and I just want to say thank you. My mom loved her work very much. If she wasn't with us, she was at the school, and I know she would appreciate this very much. And while the last year has been very difficult for us, I do know that my family will always have the support of her school and her coworkers. And I just want to say thank you.
Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm the middle child. I just wanted to say thank you as well. She really loved her work a lot, so I know it would mean a lot for her to continue to be at the school in some way. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nathan, the youngest child, and I wanted to say thank you for being here, and thank you for the support that you've been providing for the family, and thank you again.
On behalf of my brother-in-law and my brother who's here with us, I'm Joanna, my sister is Jennifer. I just wanted to say that she's my best friend, my only sister, and she will always be my best friend. Losing her is definitely heartbreaking, knowing that her passion was to make sure that our kids, our children here in the community always had the best of the best. And Mr. Amy, the day that you called me and you said, I have a surprise for you, but you didn't really want to tell me. I don't know if this is going to embarrass you or not, but I think it's something great that I wanted to share you, and I just sat on the phone and cried. We cried together because in my heart, I knew how much my sister was loved in this community. Her entire life, her entire career was dedicated to these kids, not just her own, but the entire community. And when Mr. Amy called me and said this, it was so touching to see and know that her legacy is going to continue. And I wanted to thank the entire board for loving her and accepting her into the community as much as you all did and have. And I also, Mr. Amy, if you talk to Ms. Percent, please let her know that we thank her and love her as much and for continuing to be a part of our family. Mr. Castillo, you've been with my sister from day one. You were like brothers and sisters at work, outside of work, and she always spoke about you and your relationship like a brother to her at work. And even till now, you still see these kids as your own just as well. And you're constantly telling me, let me know if you ever need anything. And that means so much to my family. And I thank you all very much for keeping my sister and her family and me and everyone else in your hearts always. And just to hear this, it means so much. And one day we had cleaned out my sister's office and her belongings. The kids actually walked out of her office saying, Mom's legacy will live on. And I think this is a representation of that, that I don't think any of us will ever forget, and we'll be very grateful for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Amy, can you come back up with the group right here. And I want to call for a motion to approve the naming of the student service building of Edward Harris Junior Middle School to the Jennifer Nguyen Student Service Building.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I had an opportunity of meeting her several times too. She'll never be forgotten. She was one of the kindest educators that I had met as well since being in Elk Grove Unified School District, so she will never be forgotten. And that name means a lot in that school there. So we thank you very much. And we can give everybody a round of applause for the Nguyen family. Okay, I'd like to call on public comment this time. Mike McGonin?
Good evening, President Madison, esteemed board members, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos, members of the cabinet, honored guests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight on behalf of the students and staff of Elizabeth Pinkerton, Cosumnes region. My name is Mike Mangan, and I'm the instrumental band director at CO and also the co-chair of the Performing Arts Department. But tonight, I'd like to come to you as a concerned parent and a community member. From the moment I was hired to open Pinkerton CO, I've worked diligently with my teammates to create an articulated 7 to 12 program in which the students would find a family, a place where all are welcomed and nurtured, challenged and celebrated. We've stayed true to that vision, which is also a district guiding principle, as stated in the 10-year facilities master plan. And I stand before you tonight, however, to shed some light on some circumstances of the past few years that that's a direct result of our open enrollment policy and that threaten the very guiding principle of a 6-year 7 to 12 program. Did you know that the 100 student open enrollment cap and denial of our auto roll-up of the 8th graders from CO to Pinkerton has resulted in a drop in enrollment that is causing a widespread decrease in offerings and effectiveness? For your information, I've included some numbers and data to support this in a handout. But the biggest impact that I've seen and felt in our program, 7 to 12, is the significant numbers of incoming band freshmen. And what makes this significant is that band directors cultivate specific balanced teams of students. Think of it as a baseball team. You need a certain number of infielders, outfielders, pitchers, and so forth. But in this example, it's clarinets, flutes, trumpets, tubas. And with the randomness of the open enrollment lottery, not only do these losers of the lottery miss out on the balanced teams, but so do the ones who remain, leaving CO with diminished music program. And I suspect that this is also the case with some of the other programs as well. And I know that this flies in the face of our district guiding principle for a 6-year fully articulated program for our students. So I'm wondering, could it be that our predictive model, the future enrollment based on the housing market, could it be that it's less accurate than we have believed or originally thought? Could the housing market be a little bit weaker than we thought? And if so, I would advocate that we do what all good educators would do if something is not working quite right, and that we adapt. So from my perspective, from my seat on the bus, I've got a humble suggestion and solution. I would advocate that our current 8th graders at Pinkerton be rolled up. so that we maintain the viability of our programs as CEO, and to address the issue of impactedness, that we shut off the open enrollment flow at 7th grade instead of 9th grade. That way, we allow the guiding principle of a 7 to 12 articulation to be true, but also address
Please wrap
accounting
up,
for
sir.
potential. Okay, thank you. So anyway, this keeps the family together. In closing, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and hopefully it's been enlightening and the suggestions thought-provoking. Thank you for your time. If it's possible, I would appreciate a response to the concerns. It's becoming a critical issue for our site. So thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Elaine Abella Mateo.
Good evening, Chairperson Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman. My name is Elaine Ablay Mateo, proud alum of Samuel Jackman Middle School and Valley High School, and I'm a parent of an 8th grader at Toby Johnson Middle School. In addition, I'm also a member of the Ethnic Studies Now Elk Grove Coalition, which presented before your board last year. And I'm very pleased to say that the collaboration with the school district and the coalition has been progressing quite nicely. We had a meeting with our coalition a couple weekends ago where the team provided some updates with the partnership with the school district. We understand that there is now a subcommittee of teachers who've been meeting to talk about how to make ethnic studies a reality for Elk Grove Unified. And we understand that they're in the process of looking at developing curriculum. So what I'm here today to share is an appreciation for the partnership with the coalition. My son looks forward to having the option of choosing ethnic studies as a course during his time at Franklin High School, which he'll be beginning next year. And with that, we just want to thank you for hearing the community, for working with us, and we continue to stand ready to partner with Elk Grove Unified. I see that the equity plan is on the agenda, and we understand that ethnic studies is part of that plan, and we've been reviewing the updates to the equity plan. We believe, obviously, that ethnic studies is a step towards equity, a value that we all care about, and we stand ready to continue to partner. So thank you.
Lorraine Pryor, please.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again before you once again. I just have two concerns that I want to raise with you. The first being, I was contacted by a few students over at one of your high schools, and they said that they had planned a walkout of some sort regarding the Stephon Clark incident, and that their walkout was co-opted by your administrators, that they took over and they apparently assumed because black students were involved that it was part of Black Lives Matter, which we are not a monolithic people, and it was not. Then they decided to say that it was a BSU-run event without talking to the BSU, and they released a minor's name to the greater community. And that child has been targeted since then. So I would like for you to talk to your administrators over at Sheldon High School about the way that they released the minor's name without getting more information to see if she was actually involved, because that could be very dangerous in this climate that we're living in. The second concern that I have is I spent some time at one of your junior high schools yesterday regarding a complaint that we received of a student being harshly punished for a video that had ended up on social media of some sort. Although he was not the person who uploaded the video, he received one of the harshest punishments, meaning, or to be more specific, he had his end of the year activities taken away, including his ability to promote. And that was excessive. It was not something that was given to all the students who participated in that video. And I would like us to be cognizant when we're giving out punishments, that the punishments actually are for the event that, or the incident that we're talking about at that time. In sitting with your administrator, he wanted to bring up stuff that happened at a whole different school. He wanted to bring up incidences that this child had already been punished for, and then he used that to justify the degree in which, the degree of severity for the punishment. And if we're going to be equitable, we have to deliver equitable punishments for different infractions. And then my other concern is on that discipline report, they had restorative practices. And so I asked your administrator, what sort of restorative practices had he employed? He told me that that is just a catch-all, and it was a drop-down button, and that just seemed like the winner in a sense. So I would just like us to be mindful of not just using catchwords, that we actually know what restorative practices are. And it sounds like a training issue, so I would like for you all to train your staff on restorative practices. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start, Ms. Albiani, the consent agenda.
I'd like to move approval of consent agenda items 1 through 18.
You have
Well,
Mr. Pettis.
yes, Mr. Perez.
I'd like to pull items number 2, 11, 13, and 15.
I'd like to amend my motion to move consent agenda items 1 through 18 minus agenda item 2, 11, 15, and 18.
13 and 15.
11, 13, and 15.
13 and 15.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Mr. Perez.
I was reviewing the minutes, and I mentioned on item 24, Head Start preschool application, I was concerned about the growth and the progress of our early childhood development programs within the district, and I don't actually recall word for word what I said during that topic matter when I pulled it, but yet the bottom line, the message I wanted to get to the public and to my fellow staff or board members was the fact that we need early childhood development within our district. And there's plenty of funding, there's plenty of support throughout our school, through the legislation, our governor, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yet it was not mentioned in our minutes. So the other thing, and I would like our secretary to review that and put that in the minutes. There was another item also within the minutes. There were...
excuse me, Mr. Perez. On the approval of the minutes that we received last week,
yes,
Friday, did you call Ms. Alvarez to inform her of that?
No, I didn't have time. Like I said, I was sick. I was sick.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if I was going to come today.
But still, she should
Yes,
know if
okay.
you have a concern.
But yes, but yet I want to make it public because it's a concern that I have, and the public needs to know that we need to make this a priority. And I want the public aware that this is one of my priorities within my responsibilities as a board member.
Okay.
We noted that you pulled it.
Okay, and I like to have it in the minutes, that's all, and it was left out. I'm sorry that I didn't call, but yet, you know, it's an issue that I'm very concerned about.
Number 11.
Those 3 contracts, I would like a copy of the Sac City or Sac Sheriff Department program contract and the renewal with the county sheriff department. And my suggestion on that, there was like the statement of work, and it had Rockland. I didn't understand what that meant, so you know, it was kind of vague. It just had statement of work, and it was Rockland, and you know, a value on that. So I just want to make a suggestion, please have that a little bit more clear. And if possible, if we could just download those contracts on our web through our agenda site, instead of coming to the district office and pick up and review those grants or contracts. Okay, that's 11. 13 is the new job, community partnership coordinator, family community engagement project, and actual job description. I've seen someplace in that we are also going to, that job responsibility is going to be developing an education foundation for Elk Grove Unified School District. So I looked that up within our web base, or our district webpage. I didn't see nothing on that issue. And so I'd like to know what's going on that issue. And so you could answer that at another question, on one-on-one. But yet, I was wondering, what is the Educational Foundation for Elk Grove Unified School District? The other one is, the last one is number 15. Our contract with Golden One for our graduation ceremonies. We had a multi-year contract with the Kings, the foundation, and I was wondering if we could possibly get a multi-year, 3-year contract instead of doing a contract every year with Golden One, because I know, things go up in price and we could lock them up, for the actual price of $180,000 per graduation ceremony. It'd be much wiser to, and I want to know if that was discussed.
Can you, on that particular one, did you read the BC, the details behind it?
Yes.
Okay. Here again, a conversation too with the superintendent one-on-one.
Yes,
you
I
have
understand
rights,
that.
You can bring it in front of the
Yes.
public too.
But this is just a suggestion that I just want to bring up at the board meeting, that's all.
understand.
I'm sorry that's going to take up your time,
No,
but yet, that's a concern
No,
that I
listen
need.
to me. It's in detail, the tickets we sell, everything. It's not a big loss to us.
Right.
If you really go through it.
I understand
But
that.
if you can convey your concerns to the superintendent,
Right.
and if you still want it to mention in public, that's fine. I don't
Fine,
have a
that's all I'm
problem
saying.
with that. Okay?
Okay.
All right, what else do you have?
That's it.
That's it.
Okay. So, on the minutes, do you want to make amendment on that? Okay.
I mean, it's my understanding that minutes are not transcripts.
Correct.
Therefore,
So we noted,
you
we
have
noted
the
that
gist
you
of what
pulled it.
the actions are.
And then the video, if
Exactly.
somebody wants to go back and see word for
Right.
word what you said, that's what the video's for, but we don't do word for word minutes, otherwise it'd be an encyclopedia. So, but we did note that you pulled the item and that it was of concern to you, so that is noted in the minutes.
Okay. Okay, so can we go ahead and have a motion for the items to be approved?
I would like to make a motion to approve consent agenda items 2, 11, 13, and 15.
It's been moved in second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to call on Mr. Matthew Espinoza, a progress report on a race and educational equity in the Elk Grove Unified School District.
All right. Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. Now, I promised you a tapas menu for our report today, and sure enough, that's what we have in store. All right, so as we've been, we kind of teased in our last session, we're looking at a focal foundation amongst our educational equity strategic plan. Today's focus is really is looking at professional learning and development as it relates to educational equity, and in particular, raising awareness of equity issues, developing educational equity action plans, and of course, addressing culturally and linguistically responsive practices as it relates across our system. And so working towards those goals, in particular in providing opportunities for staff of all sorts to access this professional learning, access and participation and measuring and improving the access and participation in those. Improving the relevance and impact of the professional learning is something that we're looking at too, and at the end of sharing some of the action and initiatives that we've done. I'll share with you a little bit of our thinking as we move towards refining the ways we're evaluating the impact of our professional learning initiatives and efforts. And finally, the sustainability, that when we provide professional learning, that whatever we're providing will actually be implemented and used and sustainable, and we take that into account as we are organizing those efforts. So in that sense, moving into next year, one of the things that our office, as the Office of Educational Equity, is working on is creating an educational equity professional learning plan that will clearly articulate around some key goals, including around curriculum instruction, around student-centered supports, et cetera. What are some targets that we're trying to measure? And then breaking those targets down into specific modules and workshops, so everything is really tied together instead of a lot of random different things happening in different places, so we can really track and monitor the progress. And so that's something we hope to share with you very soon. In the meantime, though, there's a lot of efforts that have already taken place across the course of this year that we wanted to highlight, and that's the tapas menu for you today. And so to share some of those key highlights, I'm going to invite up some of my colleagues, both at the district and the site level. So first, my colleague Anna Tranell from Curriculum and Professional Learning, as well as Lucy Bollinger from English Learner Services. And then we've got our team from Charles Mack Elementary, as well as Pleasant Grove High School, who will be presenting a sampling of initiatives. And again, this is not comprehensive, every single thing that's happening across the year, but we wanted to give you a narrative of things that are happening at the district for different stakeholders, as well as things that are happening at the site level. So to begin our presentation, I'll invite up Anna.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening to discuss this very important conversation. When the Curriculum and Professional Learning Department approaches equity-based professional learning, we know that our work isn't just embedded in titles of professional learning that say equity, because that would then indicate that it is a separate work. And so the work that we do is twofold in my department when it comes to professional learning and professional development. One, we capture opportunities via our electronic registration system, where we help to usher opportunities from a variety of people and departments and schools that want to do this work in the district. A couple of years ago, we started to indicate through the electronic registration online system ways in which we can capture opportunities that would be considered equity and diversity related. So the 76 opportunities that you see is data captured via that particular filter that we started a couple of years ago. Is that our end all? Absolutely not, as Matt referenced. Secondly, in-house, we also are taking opportunities to provide professional learning within the department district-wide in a variety of ways. And as you can see some examples that are present here, universal design for learning, inclusive and open language. That was actually specifically focused for our visual and performing arts educators in the district. Student discourse, which we have focused heavily around mathematics, but also just in general in how we ask and think about students interacting in their learning, as well as information we provided to you last month around the framework for high quality instruction, which towards the end of our presentation I indicated how we are layering in equity opportunities and practices. In regard to the Arbinger Outward Mindset in Education, the Curriculum Professional Learning Department has the pleasure of supporting the work that we do district-wide in a variety of ways. One, we collaborate with research and evaluation to capture data as far as the numbers of staff who are taking advantage of that particular training opportunity, as well as the number of instances of workshops across the district that are going on, whether it's a site-based, whether it's a department wanting to do it, or in the case of just even this last weekend, over 200 educators and employees in our district getting together to do this work. So we do that, and we support the work of Arbinger through ushering those workshops, helping people to be prepared for them, both by having in-department trained people ready to deliver training, as well as supporting our trainer-of-trainer model for the variety of individuals across the district, across departments who are doing this work for all of our employees. And then lastly, just ensuring that we have all the materials, the instructional materials, the literal books that are used through Arbinger, and collaborating with the Arbinger Institute to ensure that we are staying on top of and that we are receiving the most recent information from them. And I will hand it over to Lucy Bollinger.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this valued time. So English Learner Services is committed to affirming, welcoming, and responding to a diverse range of students as detailed in the California English Learners Roadmap. In January, we were able to offer professional development titled Intercultural Awareness and Effectiveness to our district's entire school secretary team, including some additional office staff who are on the wait list, and 2 sessions to after-school staff. Based on interest expressed by both classified and certificated staff who are unable to attend, Matt Espinosa and I are discussing future opportunities. Additionally, as we continue to see an increase in refugees resettling in Elk Grove, English Learner Services has looked for ways to welcome and support them. On February 14th, our entire English Learner Services department, so bilingual teaching associates, program specialists, program educators, admin assistants, EL coaches, as well as our guests Matt Espinosa and Ed Equity, Lisa Lavasser and FACE, and Graciela Garcia Torres of SCOE, traveled to the Salam Islamic Center and Mosque for a full-day professional development titled Cultural Relativity to meet the social, psychological, and academic needs of our Middle Eastern American students, put on by ANA, which is Awareness, Nurturing, Acceptance. One goal of the training was to assist educators in creating an inclusive, open-minded environment that is culturally sensitive to the needs of all students, including Middle Eastern American students. In addition, the team was able to increase awareness of the typical refugee experience, the effects of refugee experiences on mental health and functioning, cultural considerations, and learn recommendations for support of students and their families. We want to expand this learning opportunity to other stakeholders. We will be hosting ANA again at our secondary EL Summer Institute and are currently meeting with them to plan additional opportunities. In addition, our department's second language acquisition team, part of the duly identified work that we've been doing, has done ongoing trainings this year around second language acquisition for EL instructional coaches, bilingual teaching associates, speech and language pathologists, special education program specialists, counselors, and later this month, school psychologists. We have plans to continue the training to reach even more stakeholders and build a common understanding across our district around second language acquisition. Finally, we have been working closely with the FACE office around supporting welcoming schools. One of the steps we have taken is trying out a common questions binder for front office staff to use, translated to 10 languages and growing. This was introduced in elementary schools last year, and this year we are piloting a secondary version at 1 middle school and 2 high schools. In addition to secondary school secretaries, CTE and our bilingual teaching associates learned about it and were asked to provide feedback on how to improve it. And I'll turn it over to Principal.
Good evening, President Madison, Mr. Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. Thank you for having us this evening. I have with me Mr. Hogue, Vice Principal at Charles Mack, and Ms. Sherelle Kilatan, our Academic Program Coordinator. And before I came today, my daughter asked me, oh, how come you need 3 people to come and do this? And you know, and as I thought about it really quickly, you know, I had the answer. I had to figure out how I was going to tell her. But, you know, the work that we've done at Charles Mack for the last 3 years has been a team effort. And so for when we come up here and we had this opportunity to talk about the things, the foundation for the work that we're doing at Charles Mack, it only made sense that we came up and did it as a team. And so, make sure I can get this. There we go. The focus for us at Charles Mack really has been on how we've defined equity, and the biggest part of that has been that it's not an initiative, that it really is the lens through which we do all of our planning, and it's really the filter through which all of our actions are done. So when we're looking at things behaviorally, when we're looking at what we do for social emotional support, when we look at our hiring practices, anything that's even in any of the foundations in our framework, we are always looking at it through that lens. And so when our teachers have started to adopt that, now it becomes part of who we are and what we do, as opposed to something that we're adding on to the things that we're doing at our school. Our action plan is founded on the district's equity strategic plans, on board policy and board heritage resolutions. If you come by our school, you'll see that each month that is recognized by the board has something that goes on at our school. Has a writing and or art piece that's attached to it. We have boards up around campus that recognize all the different cultures and heritage that make contributions to our school. And our work is aligned to E4 and our LCAP priorities. So when we look at the things that are going on at MAC, we look at it through the lens of what are we doing instructionally, what are we doing for our assessment, what are we doing for wellness, and then what are we doing for our families. And there's a foundation to that, though, because, again, as I said, this is our team effort, and our team also includes our teachers and the support that they've had, not only through the district, but the things that we've done on our site.
Good evening. So as before you see a list of our various resources and opportunities that we provide our staff. This is a foundation and groundwork for the work that we do at Charles Mack Elementary. The first of these is a Power One conference that 25 of our teachers each year has attended, including our administrators, our certificated staff, our classified staff, our resource staff. At the Power One conference, this is time and dedicated to our Title I schools that provide keynote speakers for our teachers and administrators to provide strategic planning and strategies to implement in the classrooms and into the school in climate. One of the keynote speakers that was invited to our school was Dr. Jeff Duncan Andrade from Roses and Concrete. He came to Charles Mack Elementary to provide professional learning development for our staff particularly. Most recently, our leadership team, which consisted of all of our grade level leaders, administrators, and also resource staff and classified staff, attended Oakland, Roses and Concrete, and was able to visit the school in person to experience the climate that he has established with his staff and his students. One of the other embedded in equities embedded in MAC is the solution tree, which is an outside resource that has been brought to our site for our teachers to receive coaching and any type of feedback regarding our instructional strategies that we approach our students with.
The Arbiter training has been something that we've embraced as a staff. As of last weekend, all but one staff member has been trained in Arbiter, and that person is about to be trained soon. So we're very proud of how that's affected our staff and help them to have an open mindset as they work with students and community members. The district provided an equity training. There's an equity institute. 8 of our staff members were able to attend that equity institute last year. We had an outside presenter join us on 8 different days, 64 hours in total of training. And so that's had a large effect on our staff.
One of the most recent trainings that our staff has attended is the Cherokee Holly training, which provided our staff to be culture aware and responsive to our students' learning and how they access the curriculum. and it gives them an ability to relate to our students on a whole nother level and be culture aware and relevant to our instruction.
Our staff has an ongoing equity training. We have our PBIS team, which is made up of staff members, including teachers, office staff, paraeducator, a parent. And we renamed our PBIS team the equity team. And our focus, not our focus, our foundation is of equity, and that's why we renamed that team. We have ongoing training, which includes our yard supervisors on a weekly basis. And it's embedded in all we do, as Mr. Field really indicated.
And what was not back on there was the last two, which is the GLAD strategies and guided training, which all of our teachers on campus have been trained. Our GLAD strategies are basically instructional supports for our bilingual students and our low-performing students, for that matter, to acquire the concept and learn the language simultaneously. The guided reading training that is provided to all of our staff gives them the fundamental skills to provide our teachers with skills to teach them to become independent, fluent readers.
What you don't see is the feeling that we have on our campus. We're a little bit stoic, perhaps, tonight. That is not who we are. I have to tell you that. We're usually laughing, and it's not because it's always fun. It's not because it's always lighthearted. There's a lot of serious things that go on at school and in the lives of kids. But our climate reflects the open mindset that our whole staff has. And then that brings in the parents who are a part of that, and that brings in the students. And so as we go around and work with students and work with teachers, as a whole team, we see unifying efforts to take care of the whole child, to return children to class who are struggling with difficult situations, and you feel that positive feel on the campus.
And I think one of the, so often we try to parse the different things that we do. We say that equity or what we do for instruction has this impact, or what we do for wellness has this impact. I think what we've come, in fact, I know what we've come to recognize is that when we have this lens and it's applied to all of the things, all of the different, the ways that we do actually separate our LCAP, when you put those all together, you get what's supposed to happen, which is our academic success. So as we look to the things that have happened at Charles Mack around academics, we've seen in the last 2 years, we've seen 10-point jumps in our, of the percentage of kids that have hit our, the SBAC targets. We've seen 14-point jumps just this past year for our Hispanic kids hitting that target. We saw our reclassification rates for our EL students more than double any previous year of the last 5 years. So we are seeing when all of the pieces are put together, what the result will be, and what the result can be. And so, even if next year it doesn't quite go the way we want, we know that we have this foundation, and we have an approach that's going to make a big difference in the lives of the families in our community.
All right, and I just wanted to recognize members Albiani and Cheres Espinosa for visiting and a CSBA-sponsored equity learning walk at Charles Mack, and they got to actually experience what a day was like at that site. And I think it's really inspiring to see that. So the efforts that Mr. Field Ridley and the team at Charles Mack have put in over the course of several years are starting to take fruition, and we wanted to share that as kind of a guiding guiding light towards the work that we're working on at Pleasant Grove as well. And so Pleasant Grove entering in this same efforts and the same work in their first year are going to share their work as well.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Tegan Keplinger. I'm the principal at Pleasant Grove High School, and I'm joined by Todd Hirsch, one of our counselors. We have a lot to celebrate at Pleasant Grove High School: consistently high test scores, top-ranking academies, distinguished school recognition, and a low suspension rate, to name a few of our accolades.
A year ago, educational inequities at Pleasant Grove High School were brought to light by our students, parents, and community members. This was an emotional time for many people, and we learned that many students feel disenfranchised at their school. Since that time, Pleasant Grove High School staff has been dedicated to do better for our students by listening to our stakeholders, including parents and community members on site committees, opening the lines of communication between staff and our families, and engaging in various professional development endeavors such as cultural proficiency, Arbinger mindset training, LGBTQ, trauma-informed care, NAMI. We're doing a book study on restorative practices, and we celebrate monthly cultural heritage activities. However, we realize all of this work that we're doing is only scratching the surface. We need to do more to get to the infrastructure of the school and answer the question, is it good for all students? This is where our collaboration with our new critical friends comes into play. Equity 360 is a program created by an interdisciplinary team of CSUS professors representing the School of Education. We reached out to this group because in order to effectively uncover and analyze the educational inequities that exist at our school, we need help from the outside. Many of the current Pleasant Grove staff members have been there since the school opened. We were the team that actually opened the school 14 years ago. And we have developed blind spots to institutionalize policies and practices. Together, we will build a shared understanding of educational equity issues that are most relevant to the Pleasant Grove High School community. So our plan is to launch our WAS self-study in the fall of 2019, with our visit being in the spring of 2021. We will work with our stakeholders to define the issues, challenges, and problems that are deemed important enough to warrant further action and attention. We're going to focus on WAS goal number 1, which is the achievement gap, utilizing the Elk Grove Unified School District Equity Strategic Plan as our data collection guide. My colleague, Mr. Todd Hirsch, is going to go into a little more detail about our plan.
Move this up here. Hello. Again, I am Todd Hirsch, and it's a privilege to speak to you tonight about our equity plan at Pleasant Grove. A little bit about me. 21 years ago, I started as a high school counselor at Sheldon High School, and Paula Duncan, who's still the principal, decided to send me to a seed training in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I came back from that and did teacher trainings and workshops after school, and that's really where my equity journey began. That week changed my life in terms of how I think about equity and inequity. It deeply affected how I lived my life in my roles as a counselor, an educator, a father, and a husband. So I'm excited about the equity work that we're doing at Pleasant Grove High School. How do members of Pleasant Grove High School community experience educational inequities? This is the big question. It's important that we continue to uncover the educational inequities that exist at our school, and then it's our job to root them out and address them in a deliberate, transparent, and solution-focused manner. And that's what I like about the Equity 360 plan. It really is a deep dive into doing this structurally, and it's a systemic approach. And it starts with a self-study, call it an equity litmus test, taking a comprehensive look through an equity lens at our policies, our procedures, our practices, and our protocols. It's really the infrastructure of our school, the 4 Ps, how these positively or negatively impact educational equity or inequity at our school. Who's going to help us with this? Instructional staff, non-instructional staff, parents, students, and community. And what are our methods? Well, equity surveys of our key stakeholders, and then data analysis that goes beyond just student achievement data. We're looking at other data too, curricular materials, discipline data, climate data, grading policy, syllabi, student handbook, parent communications, and more. Based on the problems identified in the self-study by our community, and then an action plan is established with targeted goals, assigned tasks, and due dates. Accountability measures are built in, and we will embed it in the work that we do in our WAS action plan that already has progress monitoring as part of its process. So using our Equity 360 team, our critical friends and experts from Part Sac State, this action plan is made in collaboration with them, but looking at research based on best organizational equity practices and how to best promote equity transformation across our entire ecosystem. And if we do our job well, we get to the implementation phase. And the equity work done with fidelity leads to new norms, policies, procedures, practices, and protocols. And then it's only then, when we can say that all students have equitable access, opportunity, and support to rise up and become college, career, and life ready. So thank you for your time. I think I'm the last topos, I think.
So as you can tell, it takes a village. This work to embody it, and this is just a snapshot. Part of our hope is to continue to recognize and find and of course support this work to happen and spread throughout our school district and school system. So I would like to, on behalf of our school district and our Office of Educational Equity, recognize each of our departments and schools as leaders in educational equity and advocates for our students. So if we can call them up real quick. On behalf of our Department of Curriculum and Professional Learning, English Learner Services, Charles Mack Elementary, and Pleasant Grove High School. Thank you all for the work you're doing on behalf of our students and our districts. Just to close, I wanted to share the kind of shift that we're looking at and testing out with our Arbinger Institute in terms of collection and analysis of evaluating the professional learning data. And that is to, while of course tracking attendance and completion of the workshops and institutes is valuable data, the question of whether it is sufficient to really know the impact is questionable, right? And so what we're attempting to do in the near future is, I think within a month, we'll be sending out an annual survey to all participants that will have items that are tailored to those 4 different levels of impact. So items that are helping us to know the reaction, just how much they liked it or not. The actual testing the learning, to what extent did they learn the content that we were providing. Their behavior, so now that they've been away from the institute, are they actually using it or not? Did it shift their behavior? And then finally, the results. Have they noticed whether anything has worked or shifted at their school site within their position? And so that's one of the shifts that we're looking at, and we're trying it with the Arbinger, since that's our biggest kind of initiative for professional learning, but we're hoping that this might actually be a way that we do business in the future. And so as we work on developing that professional learning plan, cultivating more professional partners, both at the school site level and across our departments, and looking at the systems that we're using to evaluate, we hope that will continue to refine our work. Just to mention, one of the key areas that we're investigating, having a set of professional learning series, both for instructors and for administrators, is in restorative justice and refining those skills. That's certainly something on our radar. And coming up in the coming coming session report, where we'll be featuring some community partners and family and community relationship initiatives and efforts, as well as one of our partners, which are the Ethnic Studies Now. They were mentioned before. They'll do a brief update on our progress in ethnic studies. All right. So thank you very much for your time and for the report and for extending your celebration for all our equity partners.
Okay, we got some questions and comments here before we let you
Sure.
go. Mrs. Bobby Singh Allen?
Great. Excellent, excellent report. I have a few questions and then some comments. I'll just go numerically. So maybe Ms. Trinnell, or unless you want to answer it. Just curious, in terms of, for the Arbinger, what percentage of people sign up versus those that attend? Because how are we encouraging people to show up?
Yeah, I'll leave that for Ms. Trinnell.
Because I know it costs us a lot of money to put these on.
So attendance varies in regard to your question. It depends on the type of training that's being offered. When we're doing our massive district-wide training, the system allows for people to kind of register and drop up until about 2 days before the training takes place. And so over time, we see those trends of people figuring out or having family emergencies, et cetera. So I would say roughly over the course of several months, we might have, say, 100 people over a few months who've added or dropped. Case in point, this last weekend, we were expecting 240 people to come, and we had 220. So people were emailing us at the last minute, family emergencies, et cetera. We have had discussions about the fiscal responsibility with some of the decisions that we make, and we've made choices to change how we do business on those weekends, for example. We're also refining the number of presenters that we have because we are compensating them as well, which is a cost to us. When it comes to site-based trainings, typically we have almost 100% participation because it is a smaller concentration of people. People have been notified in advance and have accepted the challenge of being there and present for those trainings. I could provide other data. I'm just kind of going off the top
So
of my head.
on our messaging, do we communicate that it's sort of our expectation that we really want, we're encouraging, but is it, in the communication, is it more of a mindset of expectation versus a mandatory training? I mean, how do we get it to sink in? And this is, we really want a cultural shift, that this is the desire of the district.
We sent out a communication to the entire district that actually was signed off by all of the partners in education groups, and so that piece was a very clear. And as I had it originally drafted, the PI group came back and said, we think we need that even stronger as far as the language of encouraging.
But they haven't had the benefit of, so I just asked, even though I knew the answer, I just wanted my colleagues to hear. And then, but I am curious, I don't know if we saw it in PI or not, but is there a breakdown in terms of who has taken the courses? So like teachers versus, just the different categories and titles. I'd be curious to know. I don't think that I've seen a breakdown, but if there is one, I would love to see it. And then my next questions are from, is it Bollinger or Bollinger? Bollinger, okay, sorry for mispronouncing it. Thank you, Ms. Trinnell. I'm very encouraged to see the focus on the English learner services. You mentioned the culturally relevant communities and welcoming. Who decides what is culturally appropriate?
So with that, and this is why we've also been partnering with our Ed Equity office. This is something that we have, and maybe Matt, if you want to add more to it as well. For our focus, for instance, when we went to the Salam Islamic Center. This was specifically around the refugee experience, as well as our support of our Middle Eastern American students. With the training or the professional development that we provided with our partners, LaGuardia, who we've partnered with around interpretation and previously had done some work around biases, as well as our own identity. That was also something that we had previously vetted and used in previous years, and then also just in my partnership with Matt.
Okay, that sounds great.
And the Ed Equity framework. Is that what it's?
So this is a bigger question, but when can we expect to see some of this in other sites? Hearing some of the great work. Obviously, you don't have to answer that now, but it's very encouraging to see all of the progress that's been made. The rest I just have general comments from what I've heard. I'm very encouraged to see the results from the elementary level at MAC. I personally believe the more services we provide elementary school students, particularly as it relates to some of the Arbinger work, and being proactive, we can see the results of that hopefully carry through with middle school and high school, because it's an investment in that early age. And those kids that are acting out, quote unquote, if we can help them at that early stage of, with the skills and resources, then I'm hopeful that we don't see that same type of acting out as they get older. And then Principal Keplinger, I truly appreciated your comments. In any challenging time, there are teachable moments. And I know that any moment or a series of moments doesn't define a school site. And I really appreciated your sort of mea culpa in the sense of recognizing that our students did hurt, and that we are working diligently to create that positive environment and have learned from those experiences. To me, that speaks volumes of your leadership and in creating the environment that we'd love to see in all schools, and have that, the equity and access in a warm and welcoming environment for all of our students. So I really sincerely appreciated your comments. The Equity 360 sounds like it's great, so best of luck. And I also like the self-evaluation for Pleasant Grove. I think that that's a great tool to monitor your own progress. I really appreciated that. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Crystal?
So some of those similar questions I had, I'll keep my comments to minimal. I am thankful of this presentation to hear the feedback of the work that's being done. I think it's really critical for our district, and when we look at different models of programs of things we can implement, for us, it's always in my mind best practices and how we can be transformative as far as looking towards the future. And I was hearing the speakers and the conversations that were going on, and I have to mention even my own personal connection to Charles Mack. I started at, that was one of the first school sites I started at as a paraeducator, Charles Mack and Prairie Elementary. And I know working with our diverse students from that school, there was an array of different family needs that were in that community. And so hearing the presentation and the wonderful work it sounds like you're doing there to outreach to the families, but also taking into consideration the PBIS and how you're renaming that too, even reclaiming that name and immersing that in equity, I think is really critical in laying that foundation. So I applaud you for that work. And also hearing the principal at Pleasant Grove speak about that acknowledgement of we understand the community needs at the high school, but we're looking at ways we can implement change in the program. And also the counselor mentioning how the aspects you talked about, the methods and what you will be collecting back as far as data. I'm always interested because my questions as a critical thinker, always, collecting data and getting the surveys and the information is really instrumental, but I'm always looking for the action. How do we change behavior? what impacts that change? And so for me, that's where my mindset always goes, because it's nice to look at numbers, it's nice to look at statistics, it's nice to see when we look at student discipline, how, you know, these certain populations, how can we really impact and make an effort for the future? And how can we also impact our families? And early intervention is so critical as well. So I really thank you for this presentation. It was very informative. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm excited to see the work that can be done at many of our other school sites. So I think the fact that we can utilize some of this going on at our elementary level and our high school level, and possibly learn from them to implement that across the district would really be helpful as well. So thank you.
Yes, I agree.
I had 4 quick things. I think how we're going to get all our people trained in Arbinger is our biggest challenge next year, and so I just, any way we can support you. I feel it's made transformation already, and we're like a cruise boat that can't turn fast enough. So anything we can do to support that, I think I challenge you to come up with new and creative ways. I love hearing about MAC. As I said, I've been to MAC. I've been to MAC twice this year, actually. I was also a guest reader, and I will tell you that Omar does not always look like that. I think he was a Seuss character the last time I saw him, and there were tons of smiles. But what I have a passion for reading, and what I love that I see at your school is how you incorporate your children into their curriculum, and they are reflected in their curriculum, and you have rooms full of books for people to choose from that makes it easy. It makes it easy for a teacher to do it right. And I think that's our job, and our challenge is to provide our teachers with the materials to get it right. And we need to grow and learn from that. That was one of the most inspiring things I saw at your campus. I admire, PG, your openness to a critical conversation. We've had many conversations. I'm very proud of the work you're doing there, and I encourage you, and I'm proud to say I have a child there and that you're making good changes. So, and the last thing is the same thing that was said. Silos of excellence, how are we going to share this? How do we get it out to everybody? How do we inspire others? And we hope you will help support us to share what you've learned and to inspire your peers to make improvements to help our students. So thank you very much for a great new type of presentation.
Thank you very much for a great presentation. I'm so pleased that the rest of the board could get another taste of what Ms. Albiani and I got recently at our visit at Charles Mack Elementary. There's so many things that they're doing right, which I'm sure they couldn't even fit into their presentation. I just want to highlight one thing that I think is one of their keys to success, which is their involvement of a very broadly defined leadership team. I think they really acknowledge the power of every single adult on that campus to connect with the child and to make a positive difference, and that's something I think we need to do a better job across the board. We could all benefit from that. I also want to recognize Pleasant Grove High School for the acknowledgement that sometimes the adults that are running things are in a learning opportunity as well, and you know, we need to do that openly and transparently and be a model to our kids while we're going through that process. So I really appreciate the way that you guys are approaching that. Ms. Bollinger, your list was so long of things that you're doing that I felt that you needed like action hero music behind you when you were going through that. So very excited to see what comes of everything that you've got in the works. And yep, appreciated the format of the report, and look forward to seeing how we close the loop and assess and make changes as necessary.
Okay, Mr. Fortuna.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
I only have one question and one comment, Matt. Tonight we heard 2 examples of work that's being done at specific sites. In the future, as you do updates for the board? Will we be hearing from other schools in terms of their activities?
Right, so the goal is to, over the course of a full year, you'll have heard stories from at least, 10, 11, 12 different school sites as it relates to their actions towards educational equity. So, and that's just 1 year, and so there's more years to come. So we not only do we want to highlight that and recognize it and promote it, but we also want to find it. And so this is another tool to help folks let us know of some of the things that they might be doing that we're not aware of here at the district level.
Okay. And then the last thing is just a comment. You know, since being on this Board of Education, I have been really pleased that, given the diversity of our district, that this district has always paid attention to issues of equity. Not something that is always recognized or appreciated. Even though we have done very specific and consistent work, several years ago, the board and administration determined that in order to go further with that work, that we needed to establish some additional positions. We did it, and it's great to see that everyone, and now under your leadership, are working together in a collaborative mode to coalesce all that has been going on and to have the future development that we support. So I view the work that's being done as progression from where we were, and now we're moving someplace else. So thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Well, that's what you told me.
Excuse me again. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it short. You mentioned earlier in your presentation that, what's the word you said? Cultural, linguistically. See, I don't hear that very much in our district. I'm glad you're bringing that to our district.
Yeah.
But also, I don't see it in the paper also, reports. I see cultural, but they don't mention linguistic issues very much. And that's a big issue that I have with the district in trying to present that issue, being both culturally and linguistic competent to deal with our students.
Right.
And so, and what I saw tonight was the next example.
Of both.
We're going there with the Sheldon High School, beautiful presentation. Pleasant Grove, beautiful presentation. Mac Grove, beautiful presentation. Yes, it takes a team. Everywhere you go, husband and wife is a team. Everything's a team. And you're playing hardball. And we're giving you the resources for good outcomes. I like the presentation that you have data sets. Data sets outcomes is very important for me. That makes policy. And you presented that also at the Pleasant Grove High School. You mentioned outcomes makes policies at your school. That's an excellent example. I like that. But I'm wondering, when are we going to get to the point where we're going to have these measures that we have district-wide in the strategic plan, and it's a beautiful plan, but it's a plan, but needs some amendments here and there. And I like the fact that we have the school site plans, which are very excellent, and how they surplan or in concert with our LCFF or local plans. And so, other than that, like again, like to know when we're going to have funding, what the data sets are going to come. Big issue with me is the achievement gap. Can we have an achievement gap report on third graders? Are they reading on third grade level? That's very important. And the statistics behind that. The other thing is Another excellent example I saw tonight was, again, Equity 360. We have many resources within our community college. UC Davis, check out UC Davis. I've been talking to them a lot on equity issues also. Check them out also, please. And I was wondering, do we have, what is outward mindset for our community? Do we have a program for them? Because, you say we have a village, but our village out there is not very well. We know for a fact that when our kids come to our schools, they have issues.
Right.
And we've been dealing with the mental health issues, but we have, and there's much more issues than that.
As I mentioned in our May presentation, we will be sharing some of the work that we're doing with our community and our families in particular, and the support we're providing them to be partners in these equity efforts.
And last question I have we developed a bilingual approach for English language learners within any of our schools?
So currently, there's not a bilingual immersion program, but we do have bilingual instructional assistants or teaching assistants that provide bilingual supports, or primary language supports for our students.
Do you foresee having one or support one?
It's certainly something that we can consider, and we'll talk about. It's one of the core aspects of the state law is for families to be informed, and if there's interest, then it's something that would be explored.
Well, I have heard a lot of interest because, I know there's charter schools within the Sacramento Unified School Districts, and there's parents within our school district are taking their kids all the way from Elk Grove, all the way downtown Sacramento, just for that service. So please explore that. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned earlier with the California English Learner Roadmap, as a district, we value the multilingual, bilingual students and families that are part of our community. And as Matt was saying, with looking into that and parents' interest as well, but it's something that we want to be really thoughtful. And you speak of outcomes and looking at data, and so that would be part of the process as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to mention you. Excellent report.
Yeah, I just want to comment, Ms. Bollinger, she came up here. The award ceremony for the English learners were just fantastic, and 60-something high schools, or 60-some schools in our district was represented there. And it's amazing to see all the ethnicities that were there, and job that this district is doing. I just want to share it with my colleagues. Ms. Albiani and I were there, I think, last Monday night. So really fantastic and really good turnout. It's kind of indicative of what we're talking about here. It's helping all students. You bet. My colleagues have covered a lot, and a wonderful report tonight. I think we're getting into some of the meat and potatoes. Now, for me, this presentation was two extremes. One, we had a high school that's middle class, a little bit more privileged kids, versus Charles Mack, high poverty area, a school that has free and reduced lunch around 90% around in there. So I thought that was an area that we can share on both schools, the good job we've done.
Yeah.
I want to comment on Pleasant Grove, of getting that school in an atmosphere where it's doable now, and we want to continue with that, moving in that right direction a little bit. I had one question, I guess Charles Mack, on the Swarovski-Holly training. You mentioned about how teachers relate to schools or to children on a cultural basis. If somebody could just tap on that just a little bit.
Sure. This actually connects to the culturally linguistic that Mr. Perez was just talking about. But he came to the district. He's been a keynote at our Power of One the last time we had it, and he's been in the district. He has a whole collection of, multicultural books that he endorses. They're part of kits that he teaches teachers to use in culturally appropriate ways. So he unveils strategies that are common, some of them to ELD strategies, some of them to SEDI strategies, but it's all within the realm of things that help to engage all of our students in that beginning reading piece. And the way we used his services really fit into our model for guided reading, which is to, in our guided reading room, we added 150 titles of books by multicultural authors. And so the training that our teachers had falls right in line with the things that we were doing. So that's where he fits in. But if you're familiar with him at all, you know, his work in just really around equity is another thing that really inspires us at Charles Mack.
Okay, very good. I just wanted you to elaborate on that a little bit because it sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think the piece for our staff, teachers, all of us, is how we connect with kids from different backgrounds and cultural.
Right.
And how we can ensure that we inspire them to learn.
Right.
And I think sometimes we have a difficult time with that throughout.
Right.
So
And you know, another piece to that is that the books that he espouses or that he supports are the ones that with characters that look like the kids at our schools.
Yes, yes.
So because that's become a part of our daily instructional intervention, our kids are on a daily basis seeing positive images of themselves and all the different cultures that are at our school. So,
good, fantastic. I
Got you there.
appreciate that. Okay, again, overall, very good reports. We've still got a lot of work to do, and we're looking forward to hearing more. Thank you. We have one blue card on it, Ms. Pryor, if you want to come up and comment.
Hello again. First of all, I have to say to Charles Mack, y'all make me want to come and visit. So can I come visit?
You
I'm gonna go
should.
see Charles Mack. I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about hearing you went to visit Roses of Concrete. What an excellent idea to go and immerse yourself in the culture of Oakland. That's awesome. So I'm gonna be the critical friend real quick. I think what I heard from Pleasant Grove is an action plan that they're going to implement. Is that correct? Yes? I would just like to say, in terms of having critical friends at the table, you didn't need to look outside. We've been here since last year, so just invite us back. We'd love to come. In terms of the report tonight, what I didn't hear was the plan to look at suspensions and expulsions of Black students in your district, since you are one of the top 5. What I didn't hear was about the review of the language used on your discipline forms that I asked about. Has there been any movement in your PBIS? Last I heard, it took 7 years to implement level 1. How are we doing now? Or have we gone away from PBIS and we're just now doing Arbinger? What's happening? I'm kind of confused with that. And I keep hearing the word data. Data with a Soul is what one of the programs in Sacramento Unified School District, they talk about Data with the Soul, their Men and Women's Leadership Academy. And you can't just look at kids as numbers because they become a commodity. We must start looking at them as assets of what we want to build in them. And the way that you encourage kids to learn is they have to know you care about them. They have to know that they matter too. They have to be given, if we're doing equity, there has to be equity in your discipline practices. We can't just keep glossing over that. Like, I would like to, in your next report that you come before the board, Matt, I would like to hear the movement that you all are making on your discipline practices and how we're going to make that more equitable for students, especially Black students in your district. Thank you.
Okay, bargaining units.
She spends too much time on the phone. She didn't hear what people talk about.
None. Okay. Okay, Mr. Robert Pierce will bring up adjustment to school facility fees.
Thank you, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. Thanks for having me again. If Mr. Espinosa's item was like a tapas menu, Mr. Madison, you just said it, meat and potatoes, that's what this item is. So it's a little more drab, but it is the meat and potatoes and the backbone of
Okay.
how we mitigate for the impact of new development in our school district. So this is an annual item that's brought before the board. You last adopted this item on May 1st of 2018. It has a 1-year statute where it's valid. So essentially what the item before you tonight is your school facility needs analysis. It establishes what's commonly referred to as the developer fee within our district. I want to share with the board that all noticing has been conducted as required by law, as well as requested by all third parties. This was publicly published on May 8th in multiple notification forums. It was submitted directly to the North State Building Industry Association, as well as to all 3 cities and the County of Sacramento. As you well know, school districts are authorized to collect school impact fees on new residential and commercial industrial development in accordance with both Education Code and Government Code. These fees are based on specific criteria as stipulated in a formula established by law. In concept, the calculated amount is equivalent to what the state assumes is 50% of the cost of housing new students generated by new development in our district. Under the intent of this model, the remaining 50% is provided through the state school facility program. The calculations contained in the February 2019 school facility needs analysis that's before you tonight propose a fee of $5.94 per square foot on all new residential construction. It's a continuance of 61 cents per square foot of commercial and industrial development in our district. In terms of the residential impact fee, this represents a just over 5% increase from the current fee. The proposed fee increase is primarily, if not solely, due to about a 5.5% increase in the state construction cost allowance in the school facility program. To put this into perspective, based on the proposed increase to the fee and the average size of a home built in the Elk Grove Unified School District, a newly constructed single-family home will increase on average of $700 for its construction. So the public comment period for this item will end, and there will be a public hearing held on April 23rd at your next regular scheduled board meeting. And at that time, staff will recommend that the board review, consider, and adopt the findings contained in the proposed resolution and the school facility needs analysis that's in your packet tonight. So I'd like to thank the staff and facilities, in particular Kim Williams. She is the person that does all the legwork behind this and has the outreach with stakeholders, as well as the cities and counties. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions from the board at all?
Zero.
No questions, so we will bring this back for public hearing and adoption on April 23rd.
You got it. Thank you.
2019. Thank you. Mr. Dave Riley, a resolution to eliminate and reduce the classified position.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. The board is asked to adopt the attached resolutions to eliminate and/or reduce classified positions due to lack of work, lack of funds pursuant to Education Code Sections 45114, 45298, 45308, and 45117.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't like, or maybe a comment, when you mention lack of work, because we have a lot of work.
It's the phrase.
Yeah. What is it on all those 3 resolutions? Is the lack of funds?
It's the lack of funds and
Mostly.
the way that funding is set up. We're not able to confirm the receipt of funds, so we're sort of forced to put people on notice. If in most, if not all cases, we're able to get the funds, it's just we're up against a statutory timeline where if we don't notice people,
It's
then
that
we're
deadline issue
encumbering.
again?
It's
Okay,
the same every,
okay.
so this is kind of an unfortunate
Okay.
reality of public school funding.
Okay, I want to call for a motion to adopt.
I have a question, and just popped into my head
Sure,
a little
go
while
ahead.
ago.
Your microphone.
Turn your mic on.
Thank you. David, do you know when traditionally the schools the SB decide to release the funds to continue to support Student Store, which they have every single year. I mean,
Release the funds to what?
to pay for the positions.
I think it's contingent upon them getting notice that the funds are there and the distribution of those funds. So we're kind of at the mercy of getting the confirmation, and then from our budget department, the information goes to the sites, and then the sites.
Yeah, I
depending on the
understand
fund
all
and who
that
needs
piece
to vote,
of it.
so.
It's like, if we ever approach the schools in terms of talking with them about
We
making
do.
a decision earlier than later?
We do.
You do?
And most of them do.
Okay.
Is that fair to say, everyone?
Right.
That's fair.
What do we do to encourage the others that don't?
Well, they have to talk to they have to explain to their people why they're
Yeah.
on this list, because they didn't do that.
Right.
Right. Okay, we're going to call for a motion to adopt Resolution 56, 57, and 58 for 2019 to 2020 school year, authorizing the governing board to eliminate or reduce classified positions. Moved by Ms. Albiani.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir. Okay, board member and superintendent report. Start at my left down. Missing out?
No committees that I can recall in the last 2 weeks. I don't think so.
Thank you. Crystal? Mr. Perez, any committees?
I was wondering, we started, do we actually have the legislative committee now?
It's established, we haven't met yet.
What?
Yeah,
It's established, but we haven't met yet.
Okay,
we
so
established the last
do we
meeting,
have
but
a
I don't
meeting
think
date?
No,
yet.
we'll be working on that. You'll be getting some
They're
emails
working
about
on
it.
Okay.
Set the date. Ms. Albiani?
No committee work.
I had one that I missed because of flu, but my colleague certainly was there. You were Rancho.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to get to that, yeah. Mr. Fortino was ill that day, and I was there. We did meet with the Rancho Cordova people. First time I had an opportunity, very good. I think it was 3 council members, Mr. Hoffman, or?
Two council members and, two council members and the city manager.
Okay,
Yep.
yes.
And other staff.
Right. So the meeting went real well. I think they were concerned about some additional schools for the future. And of course,
That's
they were
usually
talking
on the
about
agenda.
funding. I think, yeah, Rob was there as well, too. So I'm sure, Ms. Fortini, they brought that up before.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Yeah. But a good community and good conversations there.
Yeah. Rob just has to get his work done.
Oh, okay.
Yep, find some money. We'll get paid back for some money.
Okay.
Just one comment I want to say is I have been continuing to work with Mr. Madison in identifying the best way to build in the regional meetings for next year. So we have a couple of ideas, and in our one-on-one conversations, I'll be running some of those ideas by individual members, and we'll bring back a recommendation of trying to take advantage of time we're already meeting, but also being respectful of not making days incredibly long. So I think we have a pretty good idea how to do that. So.
Right, and we had some good long conversations, and just keep in mind when you meet with the superintendent that we're trying to establish the best way to do it and how effective it is. Do we want to extend a lot of our board meetings out, or do we want to have a few additional days to get more substance and we're not as tired going on it? So he'll be talking to you about that. For myself, I met with the Elk Grove Regional Scholarship Foundation. We had a meeting last week that we're going to give 160 scholarships out, equaling to about $251,000 this year. I think it's on May 2nd at the Creekside Christian Church.
Right.
So we look forward to that. A lot of work went into that, raising the money. In addition to that, the Bounty on the Boulevard is on June 9th. If you're interested in going, you can get tickets. It's another fantastic fundraiser that we put on every year. And the true testimony is trying to raise continued funds so we can give scholarships to all our kids, all of our high schools in our district. Okay, any other?
Items from the floor?
Yeah, other items from the
That-
floor is next.
Yes.
Yes, I have one.
Go ahead.
I just want to do a recognition for one of our teachers, Toby Boyd, who was just elected CTA president. So just a shout out to one of our own.
Yeah, very good. Toby's a fine gentleman as far as CTA.
Chris, you shared before that your office, with the assistance of the appropriate staff, respond to people when they make comments here, and indeed that gets shared with us. Certainly would like to get copied on your responses to Mike's comments on the VAPA activities and the problems with Pinkerton and CO.
With regards to open enrollment?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other items from the floor? Okay, I will adjourn the meeting at 20:15 hours. Thank you.
2015, Mr. Molinari.